It's time for the Savvy Realtor Podcast. I'm Walter Storholt alongside Angie Cole, the owner and broker in charge of A. Cole Realty, serving you throughout the Triangle, teaching you about the ins and outs when it comes to buying or selling a home. You can find the team online by going to acolerealty.com. That's A-C-O-L-E realty.com, or by calling 919-578-3128. That's 919-578-3128. And now it's time for one of the top realtors in the Triangle, Angie Cole, and the Savvy Realtor Podcast. Let's start it off with answering some of your questions. You can go to acolerealty.com to submit a question to the show if you'd like. The first one comes to us from Dale in Raleigh. It's a pretty simple one. Dale says, where can I find homes in low-crime areas, Angie?
You know, Dale, although, this is a question that we do get quite a bit, we cannot discuss this. As being a real estate agent, we are limited on talking about certain protected classes per se, and crime rate is just one of those that we cannot give you feedback and guidance on. Now, what I can tell you, though, you can do, there is a lot of online resources where you can go and you can look at crime reports. You can actually look at the maps and see what type of crime happened in what area. You can also, I know I personally did this at one point, is I called my local police station and I was able to get a crime report for, I told them the specific address and they pulled, for example, like a half-mile radius, and they were able to give me a crime report. So there is research that you can do as being a buyer, but that just unfortunately is not something that us as agents, we can give you guidance on. And, honestly, we don't 100% even know, right? There's no way for us to understand all areas and what is happening and in what specific spots. I always say a rule of thumb, though, is, drive through during certain days and decide if that's an area where you feel comfortable. So, maybe drive through at 8 in the morning, maybe drive through midday and then 8 at night, and just see, how does the area make you feel? So that's something that unfortunately, you're going to have to determine, and a real estate agent, really, we cannot give you guidance in regards to crime and what areas have low crime rates.
So you can point in the right direction for the tools, but can't really give opinion on what areas are good.
Just like schools, it's the same as schools, same thing. We can point you in the right direction to send you to the public school websites. But if you say, hey, I want to be in a good school district, it's a lot of it's opinion too, right? Because to one person, a lot of break-ins is no big deal, but when there's shootings, that scares me. So a lot of it can be opinions as well. So that's why we really cannot give you guidance on that end.
Yeah, and same thing with schools. Some elements, are testing scores more important than college placement, or more important than a diverse school, or whatever it may be. There's
sometimes
different people
a parent
value
just
different
didn't hit
things.
it off with one teacher, so they now hate that school.
Sure.
And that's just not fair, guidance for us to give you there.
Yeah, good question though, Dale. Thank you for asking that one. Check out some of those tools online that are, at your disposal, and that might help you then make your own decisions on kind of drawing those, lines around the areas that you like the most based on some of that data, if that's important to you. And you mentioned this and hinted at it a little bit too about driving around at night and checking areas out. That can often be, really useful. So that's definitely not something to be overlooked. Don't just rely on the stats necessarily. Go look for yourself and see how you feel.
And if you find a home that you love, go and knock on the next door neighbor and ask, hey, what do you think about this neighborhood? Do you enjoy living here? Those neighbors will probably be your neighbors for quite some time. So get to know them and get a good feel again of the area and see if it fits with what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Dale. Thanks for submitting that one to us. If you have any questions for Angie, as always, go online to acolerealty.com. That's A-C-O-L-E realty.com, and you can ask questions on the website, listen to past episodes of the show on the podcast version of the program. Just search for the Savvy Realtor in your favorite podcasting apps, and you'll find us right there. We're on all the major podcasting platforms, certainly, where you can check that out. Jenny's got our next question on the show. Jenny is in Durham and says, what kind of support do you provide for someone looking to get into real estate investing?
Sure, Jenny. So first of all, there are, I would say, different types of investing. There are those that buy looking for a deal and they then want to flip the home in order to make a profit off of the home. There's other investing where they buy and their long-term goal is to rent out the places. So it's more of property management. So there's really two types of investing, I would say. But, if you are looking to find, first of all, I know no matter what, you're probably looking to find kind of a steal, a great deal or a great find. In our market, I want to be upfront and honest with you, is finding those kind of needle in a haystack type of homes. It's tough just because a lot of the homes never make it to the market per se. They never hit our MLS database. And if they do, typically there are multiple cash offers. Those homes, if they're in good condition or decent or a great buy, they are flying off the market. So, oftentimes, Jenny, going directly to the courthouse to find, those properties that you would want to invest in, especially when it comes to renovating or flipping, might be smart, kind of more of a wholesale buy is what I would suggest. But, the big thing that our team can do is once you do find those great finds, and I was actually just doing this with one of our investor clients yesterday, is we can look at numbers with you. So, say, hey, you're buying this home at this amount of, this dollar amount, which is super, super low. But let's go through and let's talk about what it will take to get it to the condition that the market is selling now for. So in that particular area, what are the norms for the area as far as customizations? How much money will it take to invest into that home to get you there? And then what does that mean as far as your return? Because, for example, with our one investor client I was working with yesterday, although a home, it looked like a great deal, and it was a great deal, but when we looked at all the, the numbers, he wasn't going to make any money from it. He was going to break just even. And so at that point, it made no sense for him to invest into that home and put his sweat equity into it. So, that's where we come into place is, not only helping you with finding those homes, but looking at the long-term investment and the, ROI, the return on the investment is really what's, important for you.
Super important to just make sure that you've got all your I's dotted and T's crossed when it comes to that investing side of things, Jenny. And that's a big definition. You're looking for investing can mean a lot of things to different people, flipping or rentals,
sure.
And that's important to make sure that that's well defined as what's going to be your mission when it comes to that investing side of things. But certainly a real estate agent can provide a lot of support in making sure that all of that gets executed well on the buying end. Now, if you're going to become a landlord, Angie, I think you guys step out at that part of the process, right?
We do. Right now, we do not have a property management division, but we do have, a great contact, actually two wonderful contacts that we can recommend you to for handling the property management. But we can still definitely assist you on the buy side with finding great homes that would be in a great spot for, long-term rentals for you. So we can definitely help you on the buy-in, and then we can definitely connect you with a preferred vendor when it comes to managing your home if you prefer not to do it on your own.
You're telling me you're not actually going out and physically, fixing toilets and that kind of thing for people, Angie? Come on.
That needs
to be part of the service.
I'm pretty savvy, but...
savvy in a few different things, yes.
Right.
It is the name of the show.
I'll pass on fixing toilets. Thanks,
right.
though.
Not the savvy handyman, you're the savvy realtor. So that's
there you go. There's a difference.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. Alice in Apex has a question for us. By the way, you can go to acolerealty.com to submit questions to be featured on the show and ask Angie, who's got a bunch of years of experience helping people here in the area buy and sell homes and one of the best agents in the Triangle, your direct line to ask her questions here on the program. Alice says, is there a certain price point where it makes sense to buy instead of rent?
No. Alice, I don't think that there is. It really depends on your situation, and I say that as far as timeline, because if you plan on living, for example, maybe you're moving to Raleigh, but you're not sure if you're staying put, maybe your goal is to live here for a year and then move. I honestly would tell you probably to rent. I don't think that it would be worth your investment to buy, hold on to the home for only a year, then to resell, because I couldn't promise you that there would be enough appreciation in the market where you wouldn't be upside down. But anytime you plan on being in the area for, I would say, 3+ years, definitely buying is the route to go, right? It has to make financial sense for you. But with the market that we're in right now, we are still seeing appreciation. And so, based on location and area, overall, you should see some appreciation to where it makes sense financially. And remember, too, that when you're renting, you're paying for someone else's mortgage, right? You're paying for their investment, even if it's an apartment complex. You're making them money. But when you're paying your own mortgage, it's your own investment. And there's things beyond the future appreciation. Of course, you have your tax write-offs. That's super important as well. So, I wouldn't say that there's a certain price point where it makes sense to buy versus rent. It's just more of, I would say, a timeline as far as your situation, whether or not buying is best versus renting.
It's a really good question, Alice, and I think a lot of people do, as a first-time buyer, kind of hit that point where they start going, would it be worth just buying instead of renting? And it's kind of an eye-opening revelation when that happens. Speaking from experience, not realize it wasn't even something I was considering. And then you run the numbers, and you're like, oh, well, this could work. And It's kind of interesting.
We're seeing a lot more where students are going to school and, just even undergrad going 4 years. We're seeing a lot more situations where their parents are moving forward with buying a home and they, pretty much rent it back to their child and maybe even to a friend. So again, it's from an investment standpoint, but it makes no sense for them for 4 years to just be paying someone else's mortgage. So they end up buying, and, that's a smart route. So just, look at your scenario and look at timeline.
Sometimes those boarding costs at school can run pretty expensive. So depending on the school, certainly. So that's something to consider. Another question here to wrap us up for the week, Angie, comes to us from Frank in Fuquay Varina. Frank says, I stress out easily. I need to sell my home this year. Those two statements seem like water and oil. How can you help eliminate as much stress as possible from this process?
Well, Frank, it's funny. I always tell sellers whenever I meet with them, I always say, selling your home is not fun. And I say that just because you're keeping your home neat and tidy. You need to get out of your home when it comes to showings. It's even a little bit tougher if you have pets or if you have children, just kind of grouping everyone out and, getting them out of the home. But, in the grand scheme of things for sellers, we tell them, we say, you sit back and we let you know when it's time to do something. And I always say, you mentioned water and oil, but we like to say that we are like a well-oiled machine. And working with our team, the process is smooth, is seamless. We're always one step ahead. We're letting you know when things are taking place, when we need you to do something. And so, it shouldn't be a stressful time. And sometimes I see where sellers, they almost assume it's going to be stressful. And so they almost sabotage the whole transaction, where it's like, guys, you're worried about nothing. You're freaking out for no reason. Just calm down. This is normal. It's all going to be okay. So, if you go online to Zillow, we have over 225 5-star reviews. I would say at least 50% of those being sellers. And all of them only had amazing things to say about the process. So, Frank, I understand that you can stress out easily, but that's where we come into play to take or eliminate the stress out of the transaction and make it an easy one for you. And so, Frank, it sounds like you are ready to sell your home. And, we would love to give you an idea of what your home is worth in today's market. So we have a really cool tool that you can use from your smartphone. I know most of us have our smartphones on us now. You can text the word listing to the phone number 555-888. From there, we will send you back a link. Make sure that you click that link. And from there, we'll give you an idea of what you could sell your home for in today's market. So once again, anyone out there who's listening, if you're thinking about selling your home and you want to get an idea of what your home is worth in today's market, just text the word listing to the phone number 555-888.
You've been listening to the Savvy Realtor podcast. I'm Walter Storholt alongside Angie Cole. She's the owner and broker in charge of Cole Realty here in the Triangle. And if you have questions for Angie, we invite you to go online to acolerealty.com. Listen to past podcast episodes on the website, read the blog, and all the great information, including the option to find a home right there on the website. That's acolerealty.com. And you can also call Angie with your questions, 919-578-3128.